My wife slept with a different man every Thursday for 17 years and she rated them all in a diary I wasn't supposed to find. My name's Mike, 46 years old, born and raised in Ohio. I work IT for a medical software company mostly from home. Pretty boring stuff unless you're into error logs and VPN issues. I've been married to Jessica for 17 years. She's a hairstylist. Works out of a salon downtown. Same place since before we got married. Everybody loves her. Bright smile, big laugh, always knows the latest gossip. One of those people who lights up a room, you know the type. We've got 2 kids. Liam, 15. Big into gaming and pretending I don't exist. And then there's Sophie. She's 9. My little shadow. My whole world. We live in a 3-bedroom colonial just outside of Dayton. White siding. Red door. American flag out front. Dog named Buddy. The usual. And for a long time I thought we were fine. Not perfect. No couple is. But fine. Stable. Comfortable. That all started to change on a Thursday. It was cold. Late October. One of those days where it's sunny but the wind cuts right through you. Jess texted around 4:30. Said she had a client running late and she'd be home by 7. No problem. I made spaghetti. Set the table. Even lit one of those overpriced candles she likes. Liam was in his room. Sophie helped me grate the cheese. Buddy just sat by the door waiting for her car. 7 came and went. Then 8. Then 8:30. No word. She finally walks through the door at 9:17. No apology. No explanation. Just says, long day, kisses Sophie on the head and heads upstairs for a shower. I watched her go and something in me just paused. Not because of the time, but because she smelled like cologne. Not hers. Men's. I brushed it off. Told myself I was being weird. Maybe it was from a client. Maybe she brushed against someone at the store. It happens. But that was the moment. That tiny stupid moment. When I should have known something was wrong. I didn't know it yet, but that was the first domino. The first Thursday. The first lie. And looking back now, I wish I'd paid attention to the way her voice sounded when she said, long day. The following Thursday came and went. Same story. She said she had a double booking. 2 cuts and a color. Told me not to wait up. She came home after 9 again. Same detached hug. Same tired sigh. Same quick trip upstairs. And yeah, maybe I was paranoid, but I leaned in when she passed me. And again. That cologne. Different scent this time. Musky. Sharp. Buddy growled when she came in, which was weird. He loves Jess. Still, I didn't say anything. I kept it to myself. Until the phone mix-up. It was the Monday after. We both have the same phone. Same model, same color. Even matching cases from some dumb couple's gift set she ordered on Etsy a year ago. Normally, hers has a little scratch near the camera. But in the rush to leave for Sophie's dentist appointment, I grabbed the wrong one off the counter. Didn't realize it until I was in the waiting room and the phone buzzed in my jacket pocket. Message from Marcia, nails. Same time next Thursday? Your amazing face blowing a kiss. My stomach dropped. Because Jess doesn't get her nails done. Not regularly. Not with someone named Marcia. And definitely not with a winky kiss emoji. I tapped the message. It was on her lock screen, so I couldn't open the full thread without a passcode. I didn't try. I didn't need to. That text was not about a manicure. When I got home, I put her phone right back where I found it. Didn't say a word. I wish I could tell you I confronted her right then. That I stood up and asked her what the hell was going on. But the truth is, I was scared. Not scared of her, but scared of what the answer would be. Scared I already knew. So instead, I started paying attention. Her schedule, her tone, her body language, and most of all, her Thursdays. Because every Thursday after that, without fail, she came home late. Different excuses, different stories, same script. And now I had one goal, figure out where she was really going. So I started small. Nothing crazy. No private investigators or hidden cameras. Just observation. I checked her calendar on the fridge. Thursday, late client, color plus cut. Next Thursday, double booking again, woozy face. I started writing them down. Dates, excuses, anything I could find. Call it my own little husband log. The thing is, Jess isn't messy. She's actually painfully organized. Appointments written in perfect loops, time-blocked in pastel highlighters, little hearts over her eyes. You'd think it was a teenage girl's planner. But that made it easier to spot when something was off. Like the time she said she had back-to-back perms until 8. But her curling iron was still sitting on the bathroom counter, clean and unplugged. Or the Thursday she claimed she had a scalp treatment emergency, but took her styling kit out of the car that morning. Tiny details. Nothing dramatic. But together, they started painting a picture. Then came the farmer's market. It was a Saturday. Cool, breezy, lots of folks milling around with dogs and fresh bread and overpriced succulents. Sophie wanted apple cider donuts, so we went early. While she and Liam ran ahead, I stayed back to grab a coffee. That's when I saw him. Tall guy. Early 40s. Tan, fit, too many bracelets. You know the type, drives a Jeep with no doors in November and thinks it makes him interesting. Jess had mentioned him before. Cal, the organic mushroom guy. She said he came into the salon once, asked for a trim, tipped in cash. Anyway, I'm sipping my coffee, just people watching, and I see him look over at us. Then at me. And he freezes. Like, completely stops moving. Sophie runs back and tugs on my hand, and I turn to smile at her, just for a second. When I look back up, Cal's gone. Vanished behind a stand of squash and soap bars. Weird, right? Even weirder when we walked past his booth 5 minutes later. It was empty. No mushrooms. No Cal. Just a folded-up sign that said, "Back soon." Except he never came back. We walked the whole place twice. I never saw him again. That was the moment I realized. Someone out there was scared of being seen with my wife. And if that guy had nothing to hide, why did he run the second he saw me? After the Cal incident, something in me switched. Like a nerve that finally decided it was done being ignored. I started digging. Not in a full-on crime documentary kind of way, just quietly. Carefully. Like a husband who still isn't sure if he's losing his mind or just his marriage. First stop? Phone bill. We're on a shared plan. I logged in, scanned the recent activity, filtered by day. Thursdays lit up like a Christmas tree. A lot of calls to one number in particular. No name attached. Just a 937 area code and way too many 10-minute calls at weird hours. Like 10:04 a.m., 1:37 p.m., 6:09 p.m. every Thursday for months. I plugged the number into Google. Nothing. No business. No listings. Just a generic line. So I saved it in my own phone as just in case. Then I started comparing her Thursday appointments to the actual salon hours. And here's where it gets strange. Jess said she had back-to-back clients from 4 to 8 one Thursday. But according to the salon's own Facebook page, they closed at 6 that day for staff training. There was even a picture posted, some group shot of the stylists in matching aprons holding wine glasses. Jess wasn't in it. Okay, maybe she ducked out early. Maybe she missed the photo. Or maybe she wasn't there at all. I scrolled back through weeks of posts looking for other little inconsistencies. Another Thursday, she told me she was doing an on-site bridal styling. Except I found a video from the bride's wedding that day, and the stylist in the video was a redhead named Erica. Not Jess. I even DM'd the bride. Asked if Jess worked her wedding. She said nope. Never heard of her. That night, I watched Jess sleep. Not in a creepy way. Just watched. Her breathing. Her calm. Her complete lack of guilt. And I remember thinking, if she's lying, she's damn good at it. The next Thursday, I decided to follow her. Just once. Just to see. No accusations. No confrontation. Just eyes. So I called off work, told her I had a training downtown. Kissed her goodbye. Watched her pack up her kit and drive off at 2:46 p.m. 10 minutes later, I grabbed my keys. And followed. Following your own wife is a weird feeling. I kept telling myself I wasn't being crazy. That I had every reason to be doing this. But still, there's something about tailing the woman you married, mother of your kids, that makes your stomach twist into a square knot. I stayed 3 cars back. Her Corolla's easy to track, bright red with a cracked taillight she's refused to fix since 2021. She took her usual route at first. Right on Maple, left at the Dunkin', looped around the junior high. Then she passed the salon. Didn't even slow down. That's when I knew whatever lie she told me that morning was planned. She kept driving. Out past the strip malls. Past the bowling alley. Into this weird little business park that backs up to the highway. Half the buildings were empty, half had those vague consulting signs you only see on LinkedIn. She pulled into a small lot beside a budget motel. One of those places that looks like it costs $47 a night and still smells like smoke through the drywall. She didn't park up front. No. She pulled around back next to the dumpsters. I parked across the street. Killed the engine. Tried to breathe like a normal human being. She got out. Didn't even look around. Just walked straight to room 112. Knocked once. And walked in. That was it. No hesitation. No guilt. No nerves. Like she'd done it 100 times before. I sat there for 47 minutes. Watched the sun dip behind the gas station sign. Watched a raccoon dig through a Wendy's bag. And then Jess came out. Her hair was pulled up now. Jacket zipped. No smile. Just this casual walk back to her car. Like she'd just dropped off a casserole. She drove off. I didn't follow her this time. I just sat there, staring at that door. Room 112. The next day, I called the motel. Told them I'd lost my watch in room 112 and asked if it had been turned in. The woman on the phone hesitated. Then said, "Sorry, sir, that room hasn't been cleaned. It's still occupied. Same guy rents it every Thursday." And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an affair. It was a pattern. And I had no idea how deep it went. After the motel, I couldn't sleep. I'd lay there next to her, listening to her breathe, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it had answers. All I could think was, who the hell is in room 112? I couldn't let it go. Not now. Not after that. So the next Thursday, I didn't follow her. I got there first. Parked across the street again, behind a line of busted shopping carts at an abandoned Big Lots. Brought coffee. Binoculars. Yeah, binoculars. Like a freaking suburban spy thriller. At 3:18 p.m., the guy showed up. Tall. Broad shoulders. Mid-40s. Athletic. Military-style haircut. Wore joggers and a tank top in February. The kind of guy who doesn't own a winter coat because cold builds character. He went straight to room 112 with a keycard. No knocking. No looking around. Like he lived there. I snapped a picture. No idea what I was gonna do with it, but it made me feel better. Later that night, after Jess got home and did her usual "I'm exhausted" routine, I went into full research mode. Reverse image search on the picture? Nothing. But then I got lucky. Posted the photo in a local Facebook group, just said, "Does anyone know this guy? Think he's a trainer at my gym." 30 minutes later, someone commented. "That's Nate. He runs Iron Core on Westfield. Real nice guy. Helped me with my deadlift form, LOL." Nate? I looked up the gym, sure enough, there he was. Shirtless on the homepage, flexing next to a woman with an aggressive tan and energy drink in hand. I drove by the place the next day. Watched him coach a small group in the parking lot. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I went in. Told the front desk I was interested in personal training. Asked to meet Nate. Said I had lower back issues and needed someone experienced. She smiled and said he had a slot open next Tuesday. Perfect. When Tuesday came, I showed up in my old college hoodie and running shoes from 2009. Nate greeted me with a handshake that could have cracked granite. I hated him instantly. But I played nice. Told him I worked from home. Had a wife. 2 kids. Just wanted to get in shape. He smiled and said, "I'm all about transformations, man." "I'll bet you are, Nate." For 45 minutes, we stretched and talked and did light dumbbell work while I casually fed him little facts. Said my wife worked in a salon. Said she had Thursdays off. Said she used to work near this part of town. His eyes flicked for half a second. That's all. Just a twitch. Like his brain recognized something and didn't like it. When I mentioned Jess by name, he froze. Just for a moment. Then played it off. Said, "Jess, don't think I know her." But the sweat on his forehead said otherwise. The session ended and he shook my hand again. Except this time he didn't look me in the eye. I knew. He knew. Neither of us said it. But in that gym, under the fluorescent lights and motivational posters, I stood across from the man who had been sleeping with my wife. Every Thursday. And I had a whole list of questions he didn't even know he'd already answered. After the gym, I couldn't keep up the act much longer. Not with Jess. Not with the kids. Not even with myself. It felt like every smile I forced, every casual, "How was your day?" was eating away at something real inside me. I was living in a house made of lies, and every Thursday she walked through that front door like nothing happened. It chipped away at my sanity. I needed something concrete. Something she couldn't deny. Not just suspicion. Proof. So I did something I promised myself I'd never do. I searched the house. Not like a maniac. No drawers flipped. No closets emptied. Just quiet, careful searching. Started with her car. Nothing. Then the bathroom. Her salon bag. The laundry room. Nothing. But then I remembered something. The attic. Now, our attic isn't one of those cozy, finished spaces. It's just plywood, insulation, and forgotten crap from 10 Christmases ago. We never go up there except when we're digging out decorations or hiding Easter baskets. So one afternoon when Jess took Sophie to dance class, I grabbed a flashlight and climbed the ladder. Dust everywhere. Spiderwebs. That weird insulation smell that somehow always smells like sadness and old air. I moved past the boxes of baby clothes and Halloween bins and found an old trunk, one of those old school ones with brass corners and a busted latch. Inside were old yearbooks, photos, a few of her journals from high school. And then, a small leather notebook. Black. Worn. About the size of a paperback. No label. No lock. I opened it. The first page just said, Thursdays. That was it. Next page? Nate, Motel 112. March 14th. Great arms. Too chatty. 7 out of 10. My blood ran cold. I flipped through more pages. Rick said he was divorced, wasn't. Okay kisser. 5/10. Mark, tiny car. Big everything else. Fun. August 10th. David, hotel on Main. Weird kisser. Came twice. Left hungry. June 5th, 10. Name after name. Date after date. All Thursdays. Some had stars. Some had hearts. Some were brutally blunt. One just said meh. Smelled like onions. Would not repeat. There were dozens of them. And for a brief second I convinced myself this wasn't what it looked like. Maybe it was a client log. Jess is a hairstylist, right? Maybe she had some side hustle going. Maybe she just liked rating her male clients for fun? But then I saw this one. Eric kept his wedding ring on. So hot. Did it in his truck behind Aldi? August 5th, 10. There's no haircut happening behind an Aldi. And I swear my hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the notebook. This wasn't an affair. It wasn't a secret fling. It was a lifestyle. A ritual. A goddamn hobby. Every Thursday for years. And here's the part that really shattered me. I kept flipping and I found an entry with a smiley face next to it. Mike, anniversary. Dinner at home. He cried when I gave him the photo book. Poor guy. Sweet though. That was me. She'd rated me right in the middle of her sex log. And I didn't even make the top 10. I stood there in the attic for what felt like hours staring at that notebook. The pages didn't stop. They just kept going. And with every name, every date, every single entry, my stomach twisted tighter. This wasn't just one affair. It wasn't just some random fling she got into when she was feeling bored. No. This was a pattern. A game. A scoreboard. And I wasn't just in the dark. I had been competing. I flipped through more pages. The names. The ratings. The notes. Chad tried to take me to dinner first. Too sweet. Lost interest. 4/10. Brian talked about his ex the whole time. June 10th. Pass. Paul told me he was into alternative lifestyles. Weird. 5/10. And then. There it was. The last entry. The most recent one. It hit me like a punch to the chest. Nate, again. March 10th. Overrated. Just needed the company. I couldn't breathe. My hands went numb. That bastard, Nate. The guy at the gym. The guy I thought was just some random trainer. Turns out he wasn't a random trainer. He was her weekly Thursday ritual. And he didn't even make the top 10. He'd been downgraded to a 3 out of 10 for God's sake. She didn't even like him. She was just going through the motions. Using him like a toy. I felt sick. Sick. Like every single part of me had been shredded to pieces. But I wasn't done yet. I kept flipping the pages, trying to make sense of it all. Trying to find something that made this make sense. And then I found it. A name I recognized. David. Not just any David. It was the David who, the night before our wedding, told me he'd been seeing Jess for a while. That she had helped him with his confidence issues. He'd said it was nothing serious. Just a thing. I had no idea. He was listed under 5 out of 10 with a note saying, great in bed, terrible conversation. Would do again but only when bored. My whole body felt like it was shutting down. I wanted to throw the book. I wanted to scream. I wanted to burn it all. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just sat there, in the dust of my attic, surrounded by secrets I couldn't unhear, and I realized one thing. I had to face it. I had to confront her. The evidence was staring me right in the face. And there was no going back. I waited until Sunday. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still needed one more normal day. One more breakfast with the kids. One more fake smile from Jess before everything exploded. We had pancakes that morning. Jess laughed at something Sophie said. Buddy chased a waffle under the table. And the whole time I sat there wondering how the hell I was supposed to burn my entire life down without taking the kids with it. After lunch, I told Jess I needed to talk. She looked up from her phone. Said okay. About what? We went into the living room. I closed the door behind us. She sat on the couch. Legs crossed. Casual. Like I was about to tell her I got a speeding ticket or needed help finding my keys. I sat across from her and pulled the diary out of my hoodie pocket. Her face didn't change. Not at first. I dropped it on the coffee table between us. Thud. She stared at it for a second, then looked up at me. Still no reaction. I said, "You've been sleeping with someone every Thursday for over a decade. Don't bother denying it." Nothing. Just this slight shift in her jaw. Like a flicker of tension. Then she reached for the diary. Flipped it open. Found a page in the middle. Read it. Laughed. Laughed. Not big. Not hysterical. Just a small, cold chuckle. She closed the book. Set it down neatly. And then she said, "So you went snooping through my things? That's rich?" That was her first response. Not "I'm sorry." Not "let me explain." Not even denial. Just "how dare you look." I stared at her. My heart pounding. My palms slick. I said, "I followed you. To the motel. I saw you go into room 112. I met Nate. That finally did something." She blinked. Once. Slowly. Then said, "So what now? You want a divorce?" Just like that. Like we were discussing what movie to rent. No tears. No excuses. No shock. I asked her, "Why? Why all of this? All the lies? All the men? What the hell happened to us?" She leaned back, crossed her arms, and said, "Nothing happened. I just never stopped wanting more." I swear I felt something inside me crack. Like part of my spine turned to glass and snapped right in half. Then she stood up. Calm. Collected. Said she was taking Sophie to the park and we'd talk more later. And she just left. Like it was nothing. I sat there, staring at the diary, surrounded by 17 years of memories and this heavy silence that felt like a funeral. And all I could think was, how many other lies have I missed? I didn't leave the living room for a long time after she left. I just sat there with that little black diary like it was a grenade, waiting for the pin to finally come out. Every name I'd read started echoing in my head. Every Thursday. Every lie. Every long day she came home from. And the sickest part? She didn't deny a damn thing. She wasn't even sorry. It wasn't panic that hit me next, it was this rising fire. Not rage exactly. Just this pressure in my chest that said someone else knew. They had to. She didn't pull this off alone. And I was right. It started with her sister, Emily. We'd always been close. She babysat for us sometimes. Helped us move into the house. Took Jess to wine tastings and yoga retreats. Classic golden child. I texted her the next day. "I need to ask you something. It's serious. Please be honest." She replied in 5 seconds. "What's wrong?" I told her about the diary. About Nate. The motel. The dozens of names. Silence. For almost 10 minutes. Then finally. I didn't know everything. Just that she'd seen other people. I didn't want to get involved. I called her. I asked how long. She hesitated. Then said, "I think since before Sophie was born." Before Sophie was born. I nearly dropped the phone. I asked, "Why didn't you say anything? Why wouldn't you tell me?" She said, "Because she said you knew. That you two had some kind of arrangement." I thought it was, I don't know, one of those weird open marriages. I laughed. This dry, bitter thing that barely counted as a sound. An arrangement? I was here changing diapers, building bunk beds, watching Paw Patrol reruns on the couch while my wife was off playing sexual roulette. And she had the audacity to tell people I was in on it? I thanked Emily. Told her I wasn't mad at her. Told her I just needed the truth. She started crying. Said she was sorry. Said she should have spoken up. But it wasn't just her. I asked around. Subtle questions. Jess's coworker? Yeah, she heard rumors. A mutual friend from church? Oh, I thought you guys were just doing your own thing. And then the kicker. Liam's old soccer coach. He came up to me at the grocery store, patted me on the back, and said, "Hey man, if you need someone to talk to." I went through something similar. Well, not quite like Jess, but you know, infidelity stuff. You'll bounce back. He knew. He knew. And I was the only one walking around in the dark. You know what that does to a man? It makes you question everything. Every holiday. Every compliment. Every shared laugh. All of it. Tainted. I went home that night and looked at Sophie. Sitting on the couch, drawing on her tablet. So innocent. So full of love. And this terrifying thought hit me. What if she wasn't mine? What if Jess lied about that too? I held off for a few days. I told myself I was being paranoid, that there was a line and I didn't need to cross it. But the truth? The second I saw her write David, Hotel on Main, July 10th, great arms came twice, left hungry in that diary. With the date 3 weeks before Sophie was born. The line was already crossed. I ordered the test online. One of those discreet ones. No fanfare. No lab visits. Just a cheek swab and a return envelope. I did it while Jess was at the store. Sophie was in her room watching cartoons. I walked in, asked if I could do a silly science experiment. She giggled and opened her mouth like it was a game. She's always been trusting like that. And in that moment, I hated myself. I hated that I was doubting this beautiful, kind, whip-smart little girl who calls me daddy and asks me to braid her hair every night before bed. But I had to know. Because the only thing worse than the truth is a lifetime of wondering. It took 9 days to come back. 9 days of going through the motions. 9 days of pretending to sleep, pretending to eat, pretending to be okay. On the 9th morning, I got the email. I sat at the kitchen table. Coffee cold, hands shaking. Clicked the link. Entered the login. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. I stared at that screen for 10 full minutes. I cried. Not because I was sad. Because I was relieved. Sophie was mine. She was my daughter. Despite everything, despite the years of lies and manipulation and deceit. That bond was real. And that was the moment everything shifted. Because now I knew exactly what I was fighting for. Not just the truth. Not just freedom from Jess's lies. But Sophie. I wasn't going to let her grow up in a house full of secrets. I wasn't going to let her learn love from someone who ranked men like Yelp reviews and treated trust like a punchline. I was done playing detective. It was time to lawyer up. After the DNA test, everything inside me just settled. Not in a peaceful way. Not like forgiveness or closure. More like the way a lake settles after a storm, quiet but still full of wreckage underneath. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. So I did what any good IT guy does when things break down. I backed everything up. Photos of the diary pages. Screenshots of texts. The GPS timestamps from the night I followed her to the motel. Recordings. Voice memos. I had a whole Google Drive folder labeled Divorce Hammer. I also hired a lawyer. Good one too. Not cheap, but sharp. A woman named Karen who didn't blink when I laid it all out. She said, "You've got more than enough for full custody. Especially if she doesn't see this coming." That's the thing, Jess had no idea I was that far ahead. She still thought I was sitting on the couch like a kicked dog, licking my wounds and Googling how to forgive your cheating spouse. No. I was building a case. And the final piece? A family dinner. Her parents were visiting. The kind of people who still send blessings in emails and think Fox News is too liberal. Judgmental. Stiff. But polite. They always thought I was a boring but reliable husband, exactly the kind of guy they wanted for their golden girl. So I invited them over. Told Jess I wanted a nice night. Said we should talk things through with family support. She smiled like she'd won. Put on makeup. Made roast chicken. We sat at the table, me, Jess, her parents, Liam, Sophie. Halfway through the meal, I cleared my throat. Pulled out my phone. Connected it to the Bluetooth speaker in the dining room. And hit play. The audio recording was from 2 weeks earlier. Jess's voice. Clear as glass. Nate was a 3 out of 10 at best. "I'm just bored, you know? I still love Mike, but not like that." Her dad dropped his fork. Her mom turned ghost white. Just stared at me. Blinked. Once. I calmly stood up. Pulled a manila envelope from the drawer. Dropped it in front of her. Inside was a copy of the divorce filing. Custody petition. A copy of the DNA results for Sophie. She didn't speak. Didn't yell. She just sat there, slowly deflating like a balloon someone forgot to tie. I turned to Sophie, kissed the top of her head, and said, "Go grab your overnight bag, honey. We're staying with Uncle Drew tonight." And then I looked Jess dead in the eye and said, "I'll see you in court." That night, Sophie and I drove away from that house. The house I paid for. The life I thought was mine. And I didn't look back once. It's been 8 months since I walked out of that house with Sophie. 8 months of court dates, custody hearings, lawyer fees, therapist bills, awkward conversations with family, and long, quiet nights staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell I didn't see it sooner. But also, 8 months of peace. 8 months of breathing air that doesn't smell like lies. 8 months of dance recitals and pancakes for dinner and bedtime stories read on the same couch where I once thought my life was crumbling. Sophie and I live in a little rental now. 2 bedrooms, tiny backyard, crappy water pressure. But we've made it ours. She picked the curtains. I let her paint one wall purple. Buddy has his favorite spot by the window. She's thriving. Me? I'm learning. I still get hit with waves. Random ones. A song on the radio. A Thursday that creeps up on me out of nowhere. Sometimes I see a red Corolla in traffic and my chest tightens. Just for a second. But I'm not angry anymore. And I'm not scared. Because the truth is, Jess didn't break me. She exposed me. She showed me how much I was willing to forgive. How deep I could hurt and still stand up. How far I'd go to protect the one person who never once lied to me. My daughter. Liam stayed with Jess. That was his choice. He's older. I don't blame him. Maybe one day we'll talk about it all. Maybe not. But Sophie? She looks at me with those big, honest eyes. And I know, no matter what happens, I showed up. I've got full custody now. Jess didn't fight it. She barely showed up for the last 2 hearings. And I don't care what she's doing now, who she's seeing, what motel room she's haunting, because I'm not chasing ghosts anymore. Last week, Sophie asked me if I was ever gonna fall in love again. I said, I don't know, maybe, someday. She thought about it for a second and said, well, just don't pick anyone who smells like onions. We laughed. God, we laughed. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't fake. It wasn't forced. It was real. And that's how I know I'm gonna be okay.